At 9:30 a.m., the sky above Novo Ogorovo, on Moscow's outskirts, convulsed as a storm of metal screamed downward. Russia's defense grid reacted instantly. S-400 Triumphs and Panzer S-1s fired without hesitation, turning the sky into a lattice of fire as drones shattered midair. For the first time, Ukraine had breached the fortress protecting 24 senior Moscow officials. And with radars jammed, missiles reloading, and operators overwhelmed, 20 MiG-29s plunged out of the clouds, triggering a chain of events no one on the ground could have imagined. Before we go on, if you watched that attack rip open the morning darkness, what would you expect to happen next? Share your thoughts below. November 13, 2025, 9:30 a.m. That same morning, the sky above Novo Ogorovo looked deceptively calm. Inside the estate, more than 24 high-ranking Russian officials gathered for what looked like a strategic economic consultation. Screens glowed with carefully prepared charts and numbers, every detail rehearsed, every slide crafted, but the meeting was nothing more than a facade, because 24 meters underground, Russia was finalizing something capable of reshaping the entire European front. Far above, 12,417 meters in the air, a LEA-100 Sentinel reconnaissance UAV drifted silently through restricted Moscow airspace, untouchable by Russian sensors. Its radar, precise enough to detect a 3-centimeter outline, swept the Earth like an X-ray in one pass. It gathered 2.7 terabytes of structural, thermal, and electromagnetic data, more than enough to expose every secret Russia believed was safely buried. What it found shocked even Ukraine's most battle-hardened analysts. Beneath Novo Ogorovo stretched a 38-hectare network of fortified tunnels, built with blast-resistant concrete and fiber-optic tunnel feeding directly into Metro 2. 9 server vaults ran non-stop nuclear strike simulations. 3 command capsules, exact replicas of Russia's strategic missile authorization pods, sat primed in a row. And at the far end, a staging chamber held tactical nuclear deployment models aimed squarely at Ukraine. When the AI finished analyzing the scan, it triggered a code almost no one ever sees. Level 9 Legend Tier Strategic Strike Chain detected. A classification reserved only for preparations capable of killing hundreds of thousands. 49 seconds later, the full data stream flashed across every screen inside Ukraine's covert command bunker. Conversations died mid-sentence. The president and his generals stared at the expanding tactical map, their expressions carved into silence. This wasn't diplomacy gone wrong. This was the prologue of a nuclear offensive. Ukraine had one narrow window to act before Russia's plan became irreversible. The countdown had already begun. At 10:02 a.m., 30 meters beneath Kiev, the underground command center felt colder than steel. The final frame of the LEA-100 Sentinel scan froze on the central screen. 14.3 kilometers of tunnels, 46 hectares of fortified chambers, and a radiation shield thick enough to survive a 20-kiloton detonation. No1 spoke. Not because they were afraid, because the implications were heavier than anything words could hold. General Mail Arno braced both hands on the table. His voice stayed level, almost unnervingly calm. If Moscow completes this choke node, he said, they'll be able to strike 11 regions at will. That was all he needed to say. Seconds later, he gave the order. Operation Black Lantern was activated. It would unfold in 2 distinct layers, each calibrated to fracture a different part of Russia's defensive architecture. Phase 1 was the decoy storm, 230 long-range UAVs, UJ-26 Bober ERs, Shmemel 400s, and upgraded Kestrel X variants rising in a single dense swarm designed to smother Moscow's radar grid. Each carried only a 30 to 50 kilograms warhead, just large enough to register as a threat, yet small enough to be dismissed as conventional noise. Ukrainian engineers estimated that Russia would be forced to expend at least 170 interceptor missiles just to keep the first wave from slipping through. Phase 2 was the real blade, 20 upgraded MiG-29s fitted with stealth coatings, Kh-31P long-range strike missiles, infrared dampening systems, and digital stealth modules that cut their detectability by nearly 87%. Their target, Novo Ogorovo, wasn't protected by a single shield but by 5 overlapping ones: the FSO shock unit, an electronic jamming curtain, a Spetsnaz rapid reaction division, the S-400 Triumph batteries, and Panzer platforms firing $7 million interceptors, every layer woven into one of Europe's most restricted airspaces. On paper, it was impregnable. But after 24 hours of mapping timing gaps, blind angles, and structural inconsistencies, Ukrainian analysts isolated 14 technical weaknesses. 2 of them catastrophic if struck in sequence. The officer stopped speaking. We break all 5 layers in 1 hour. At 10:04 a.m., Operation Black Lantern was greenlit. The transmission was brief: begin Phase 1. Above the cloud deck, 230 activation signals blinked alive, a synchronized storm built to overload every Russian sensor at the same moment. So the real question is, could Moscow's defenses actually endure? Drop your thoughts below. At 11:05 a.m., the first ripples appeared on Russia's western radar fence. A cluster of 230 unidentified signals emerging from 3 different directions. Within 6 seconds, every early warning screen from Kuga to flashed red. Operators assumed it was a system error. Moscow had never witnessed this many intrusions at once, but it was no malfunction. It was phase 1 of Ukraine's decoy storm. At a speed of 380 km/h, the UJ-26 Bober ER drone spread into a wide arc while the Shmemel 400 units plunged to lower altitudes, hugging the terrain to fracture the radar image. The upgraded Kestrel X variants, only 1m long, but carrying 42 kilograms warheads, began emitting thousands of false electromagnetic pulses, multiplying the swarm into nearly 900 phantom targets on Russian scopes. Inside the Novo command bunker, the alarms erupted. DEFCON Omega full air defense release. Russia's 5-layer shield activated instantly. At 11:15 a.m., FSO assault units rushed into defensive positions, but their communications grid collapsed within 11 seconds under the storm of decoy signals. Elsewhere, alerts reached 2 S-400 systems near Moscow, which launched their first salvo. 18 interceptor missiles, each worth $1.6 million, streaking into the sky at Mach 7. The detonations tore the air apart. 137 drones vaporized in seconds, fragments falling like metallic snow over the estate's eastern wall. But the Ukrainian swarm did not break. It adapted. Each airframe switched to inertial guidance, ignoring the interference like a trained pilot, ignoring distant thunder. Nearby, the Panzer S-1 batteries unleashed 2,200 rounds of 30mm cannon fire per minute,